All right, episode 60. What we are doing to stay in front of our database and cool ideas to entertain your sphere, and why you should have been on our Tour Academy Zoom mastermind call this past Monday. We're going to get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
What the hell was that?
What is up?
Nick goes, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I zoned out. We were just sitting there live for a minute and a half
To let people jump on.
texting each other. And Nick's like, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I zoned out. Like, dude, it was only like we were just talking about this a second ago. It was funny. I couldn't find it fast enough. We were texting because Nick wouldn't say anything. And I was trying to find the perfect Gordon Ramsay gif. And I was going to be like, we're dying in the window.
I was literally just looking at the Tour Academy like image there. And I'm just thinking like maybe it should say touracademy.com. You should go sign up to be a part of our membership site and our masterminds. And then I just started thinking about some other things. So
going down this mental rabbit hole. Like,
yes, that does happen to me. Like Heather would be like, what's that weird look on your face? I'm like, I'm having an internal dialogue conversation with myself and arguing back and forth of how we should be building and running our businesses. So that's my fault. And if this is if you stayed aboard that minute and a half long delay or white, what is it, dead noise or dead air? Is that what they call it in the business? Derek?
Yeah, we'll go with that. That works.
Yeah.
Some dead air.
Some of that dead air. We appreciate you staying on, and we are live episode 60. Today, we're going to talk about what we're doing to stay in front of our database. I had done something that has gotten a huge response. It's like 400 or 500 reply backs so far, and that's going up. And also, why you should have been a part of our Tour Academy Zoom mastermind call this past Monday. So if you are not a part of Tour Academy, go over to touracademy.com, sign up for our membership group. It is special pricing. It's COVID-19 special pricing. It's $27 a month right now, or $197 for lifetime access. This will give you, not only for our membership classes, but it will also give you access to our bi-monthly Zoom mastermind calls, which I'm going to tell you, Justin Nelson dropped some huge knowledge on us this past Monday.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you,
awesome.
A lot of people missed out on that.
dude, it was super good. Super good. It's funny because when we do the masterminds, I feel like I take more notes than we're supposed to be the host of the masterminds. And I feel like I'm like the one getting the most out of it. It was so good.
I like having Justin on because I think one of the things that every time he's on, I learn 5 or 6 new ways that I could be automating something, or different lead sources that I never even thought of, different ways to take a lead source on the front end and then come to the back and figure out that there's a whole other group of people I could be talking to over here. Like, the dude's mind just works awesome. We actually were, I was talking to guys yesterday about helping us chop up some of the video content for the show. And Justin's episode is actually the first one I'm going to give him, because I think that's one of the, what, 60 episodes in, that's easily one of, our top 6 episodes from that standpoint.
No, 100%. And Justin also just dropped in and made a comment. He's like, I also learned a lot about Pornhub. So, there's some also side benefits that you get by joining the Tour Academy mastermind calls.
For a little context, if everybody knows, if you have not joined our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, go join, because occasionally I will post text message conversations that I have with agents or leads or something like that in there. And I didn't post one the other day because honestly, my response, I used voice to text, and my response wasn't as slick as I wanted it to be. The voice to text screwed it up. But I was reaching out to a for sale by owner about just helping him out, whatever. And I asked him, what he was doing from an additional marketing standpoint. I'd love to know a little bit more about what he was doing. And he said he was putting it on porn sites. And I was like, oh God, here we go. So,
and I was like, holy smokes, that's a great idea. Because Who was it? Justin that mentioned it, or was it you, Matt? Maybe it was Brian. I don't know. That someone
Not
said that.
Brian.
Maybe it was Brian Force that talked about how traffic to Pornhub is at an all-time high or something like that.
Well, those are
I
just
just
the
read a
stats.
lot
Like
of
all of
stats.
those things, like all those anything voyeuristic in general, right? Facebook leads, anything where people are just doing whatever. But like, I think locally we have a radio station called The Ticket, and they have one of the people they have on there is a local guest, but she's also in the adult industry.
Mhm.
And she was talking about how like certain apps she uses to communicate with fans were terrible and other ones were working really well. But overall, the views on like some of these sites are up like 200% on videos and stuff because nobody has anything to do.
That's what it was.
that's
Yes.
bananas.
Okay. So it was Matt that brought that up about the ticket. So I'm excited about sharing today's episode, and I'm also really excited because Matt is feisty today. He is fired up. So I'm expecting, Matt, you to bring the heat. I'm just waiting for you just to go off.
I did a Facebook Live video on Monday just about how like I'm frustrated, but there's nobody to be mad at, which makes me even more frustrated. And then today, like Brian and I talked and got some stuff worked out, and then I got a guy that I talk to every week, and he and I got some stuff worked out, and then some agent sent me a text being a dick, and now I'm dealing with some other stuff, and I'm like, dude, somebody's gonna get it before the end of this Wednesday if I don't stop getting tested. Because it's hat on backwards, I'm already tough. So I don't know why people are messing with the hat on backwards guy. I got a beard and a hat. This is as tough as it gets.
Man, I'll tell you what, I got real jazzed up today, and I didn't mean to. I just had a moment of weakness. So I had cream cheese in my fridge, and that was it. So I had to go grocery shopping, and I wanted to go to Whole Foods because I needed to get produce. And I like because I get my teas, my little yerba mate teas, and they only have them at Whole Foods. And this is like, it's clean cause. It's like they support like addiction recovery and stuff, which is really near and dear to my heart. So I was like, let's just go to Whole Foods and get our produce. Normally, what I spend on produce is like $40 or $50 a week or a trip or whatever. I got to the freaking counter, didn't know Whole Foods was the most expensive store in the world. It's $96, and I just instinctively I was like, $96. I hope your store goes out of business. And then I caught myself, and I was like, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry.
But I think Amazon owns them, so I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, and every time I scan my app, nothing that I buy at Whole Foods is on sale. Every single time I check out Whole Foods, like, are you a Prime member? And I'm like, yeah. And they scan my thing, and they're like, well, none of your stuff's on sale. So better luck next time. And I'm like, is this a bit? Does anybody ever get a discount? I think you're just doing this. It's like the lottery. You have to buy 100 scratch-offs to win one time. So like your net out, like it's dumb. Whatever.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing right now? That I mean, this is the time, right? And I'm getting tired of at least bringing up and always talking about Corona and everything going on. But it seems like, I mean, that's going to be the never-ending topic, at least.
Yeah,
while,
I mean,
right?
it's a combination of what the coronavirus is doing to all the industries. Like, I'm tired of talking about the virus too. Like, if you're gonna come at me and talk to me about social distancing and wearing masks and gloves, like, I know all that. Like, those are the conversations I'm really tired of having. But there's a lot of things that are happening in a lot of industries across the board, housing especially, that have been triggered or will be triggered by the fallout from all of this. And I think that those things are really important to talk about for sure. So I definitely want to touch base on a couple of those things. But what are you guys seeing as far as the month of wrapping up the month of April? How do you think we're going to finish out here?
I will tell you right now. So we took 21 listings in March. We are going to be down in terms of that compared to March, right? So April's listings are definitely going to be lower. We just signed our 7th one. I just got a text on that. We just signed our 7th one. I know Elizabeth has several out. We should end between 13 to 15 listings with what we have commitment and sent out.
Sure.
Now take that into comparison to the same time last year in April. We only took 11 listings. So as long as we're ahead of that, we year to date. So I was doing our team meeting. I was doing our team meeting on Tuesday and going over our stats. And year to date, we are up 34% and listings taken. So we were at 59. This will make 60. So we're at 60 total listings taken. And this time last year, we were at, 44, I believe it was. Yeah, because we're plus 16 now. So
sure.
I mean, that's definitely a good sign. We've always held our listing taken number as the number we focus on, because we found a correlation between the number of listings that we take. At minimum, we typically will equal that in the terms of how many transactions we complete in a year.
Sure.
And so if we take 180 listings, we typically are going to close at least 180 transactions, if not more than that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, here's the thing, no matter how affected the market gets and how deep this thing really goes, if you're pushing through like year over year growth, that's insane, right? Like, I think that's one of the things to sort of keep in mind is there is a future ahead of us. There is, a lot of light on the other side of this, right? And a lot of opportunity on the other side of this. And that's really what I want to get into today. I'm not going to go off like I do on Open Door and Redfin. I have a positive message, I think, to talk about today. But man, if you can still have year over year growth as far as listings taken in the midst of a global pandemic, that's amazing, man. Hell yeah, that's awesome.
It's funny. We were on a CEO call with Adam Hergenrother yesterday, and he was kind of talking about the market a little bit and how they perceive it. And he obviously has a little bit bigger view. He owns market centers and sees a lot of this at a little higher level than I think some of us do. But he was talking about how he can really notice the people who are doubling their efforts, and he can see it in pendings. And then he just sees so many agents just floundering around with nothing to do. And I think that's what I did the first couple of days. I took 3 listings last week. 2 of them are on the market already. Nice. So it's starting to feel, but here's the thing is I had another one fall out yesterday that was under contract pre-coronavirus. So it's weird. There's become this weird line, and all the business that I had on the market or under contract before this kind of went down still feels really shaky. And the sellers are like, oh my God, what's happening? And then everybody else who's come on since then understands the game. They understand everything that's going on. And so I don't know. I say that to say if any real estate agents are still using the excuse of coronavirus to not get up and do stuff, that excuse is kind of left. Everybody seems to be settled into whatever this is now.
Yeah.
I think that, go ahead.
No, I agree with you, Matt.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just fucking with you. Go ahead.
No, but I do think that's you're right. The new norm has set in, and I have noticed that we are getting more, and on Facebook, I'm having more Facebook messaging conversations. The people reaching out and saying, I want to buy a house.
Yep. And
they already further down the funnel and ready to go and don't have agents, or they're unhappy with their agents. And even I'm noticing that they're unhappy with lenders that they're working with, right? These lenders are, a lot of these half-assed lenders are not doing a good job of educating them on what's going on with this marketplace. Yep. And so there's definitely a void to be filled there. And there's opportunity is ripe for the picking if you put in the work. I mean, we've got Elizabeth is still crushing it. We've got Nate Fisher, who's a 21-year-old. And at 21 years old, he's out producing a lot of veteran agents because he's in here day in and day out and busting his ass on the phones and setting appointments. I mean, it's going to pay off.
There's a couple of things to touch on there. Is like, one, you use a different example, right? Like I say this all the time, like these things happen in trends and tipping points, right? Like, yes, there was a serious global pandemic going on, but what's really affected things like the housing market and stuff so far is market sentiment. Now, I want to get into probably what will happen in the future with real actual effects to the housing market long-term. But right now, it's like, like Matt's deal that fell out yesterday. It just was a skittish buyer, right? Like there's no real reason not to buy a house right now. But I think that is starting to alleviate, right? And the example that I'll give you is like, has anybody, like I just noticed it yesterday and I hadn't even watched it. Did anybody see that a new episode of Tiger Man came out? Like they did the new episode. Has anybody watched it?
No clue, because I'm already so over that it's not even funny.
Everybody is, exactly. So that's the point, right, that I'm trying to make is like we get bored of things. Whether or not that's like rightfully so, or like that's the way we should be, we do. Like we move on to the next thing. So like we've had our time to piss and moan about shelter in place and quarantine and things like that. People are starting to settle into this, and human beings are very adaptable. Like this market sentiment towards like, oh, the world is falling apart, things going to collapse, like we shouldn't buy a house. Like I think that's starting to alleviate a little bit. There's a lot going on in the mortgage industry right now that I think we should get into. But as far as like agents just sitting back and not knowing what to do because like nobody wants to talk about housing right now, like I'm pretty sure that's starting to go away. At least I'm seeing it in my world. And I think like, dude, we've got, we've got teams that we're sister teams with that are freaking putting 21 pendings up this month already. They're on pace to do over 30 deals this month. Like, that's bananas, so I think the market sentiment is definitely shifting back towards, we're tired of being locked inside. We want to go buy houses again.
No, I agree with you. And by the way, I'm just now I'm looking over here and reading the title, the title of our show description. It says, today we're talking about all things loan forbearance and how it'll affect the real estate industry in the near future. So,
it's a super important conversation.
That's what we talked about talking about.
I don't know. What did Nick say at the intro? My thing froze, but I'm pretty sure you kind of pulled a wild card on us. I don't know what you said. Derek, can you tell us what Nick said?
I can tell you. I have it written out.
What did you say?
Today we're going to talk about what we are doing to stay in front of our database and cool ideas to entertain your sphere. And why you should have.
What was that? Who said that?
You guys are getting a behind the scenes look at like how by the seat of our pants this show is.
A single person said that all day.
Well, I didn't know we were talking about loan. I saw that. I thought it was a joke because I'm like, we're going to talk about loan forbearance for
not a joke. It's
minutes.
Insanely important. No, we're not going to talk about it for 45 minutes. The reason that I do want to talk about it, we can get into it here, is because there's a lot of things that are happening right now that are not boring. When I say we're talking about loan forbearance, I'm not going to start pulling out textbooks and doing a bunch of graphs and crap. But there's a lot of things that are happening around that will affect the housing market in the next 12 to 24 months. And I think it's really important for us to be educated on them, because we have, and again, I'm a cynic. We have this thing we do as real estate agents where we just always say the market is good, and we like turn a blind eye to like things that are really happening sometimes. And I think that's how we get blindsided by major moves in the marketplace. We just don't pay attention to them. And then when they happen, we just quit real estate. It's really fucking stupid if you ask me, right? Like most realtors leading up to the last, housing market, incident just had no idea what was going on and really just wanted to bury their heads in the sand. It's almost like, rather than being realistic about the housing market and adjusting to it and working our asses off it to thrive in all market environments, we just feel like if we just will it into existence, then the market will always just keep growing and be strong. Like it's crazy, I want to talk a little bit about mortgage forbearance because I've been talking a lot about the Great Recession and in the last housing market collapse lately for the last few weeks, because I think it's really, really important to look at history to kind of see what the future, might hold. I've been really astonished at how many people still have no idea what caused the last housing crisis. And I think when we have no idea about those types of things, we are really, really, really at risk for becoming victims of them when they happen again in different forms. But if we're prepared for them, we can find the opportunities, which I think there are a ton of opportunities on the horizon. And I want people to be prepared for them. I think it would be irresponsible of us to just say like everything is all sunshine and rainbows all the time in the real estate market, when I don't think that's true. But I think for the people that really double down on their efforts and know where to place those efforts, there could be a lot of opportunities. So that's why I think it's important for us to talk about it a little bit. So what's going on with mortgage forbearance now that I've started us off? Does anybody know?
So I do. I mean, I'm definitely interested in learning more about this and being able, because there's so much misinformation going on right now in it, right? So
sure.
One thing which I do know that I want to get into, and we talked about even before the show officially started, which is what we're doing to stay in front of our database right now, is that I got a response from a past client who, unfortunately, her job was eliminated due to everything going on, and they did get a loan forbearance, or they got their, I believe it was 3 months worth of their payments paused. And so I'm waiting a response back to hear from them. If she's willing to share, I wanted to hear, all right, once you resume making your payments, are they going to ask you to make a balloon and to catch all the way back up? Are they going to put it on the back end of your loan? Right? Because if you've seen the post going around, there's two different messages that real estate agents are sharing. One is you should be making your payments, because if you go into that loan forbearance, that when you do resume making your payments, you're going to have to pay the lump sum up front in order to catch back up. Right? Then there's another group of agents that are saying, well, that's not true, you're able to put it on the back of your loan.
Right.
And there's two different proofs going on when they share
Sure.
the screenshots from what their lenders and banks are saying. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't truly know what the right answer is right now. So what I'm telling our clients who are asking, I said, if you can make your payment, make your payment.
Yeah, that's one thing that really kind of twists me off. Is one of the things that I really wish real estate agents would get really good at, and pardon my French here, is getting used to shutting the fuck up when they don't know what they're talking about. The reality is both of those answers could be right. It's really up to your lender and the servicer. You may have to pay a balloon of just interest on the back end. They may, say you get a year's worth of forbearance. They may double up your payments for 12 months after that. I have no idea. Or they might just tack your payments completely onto the end. So the situation as it stands, all of those things are sort of at play here, right? If I do a loan forbearance for, you can do up to 12 months right now. If I do a loan forbearance up to 12 months and then they balloon my interest and they try to hit me with a balloon payment on the back end, I'm not gonna be able to make that payment, most likely, especially if I'm still furloughed or God forbid out of a job. So that's going to cause a whole mess for me. Even if they try to extend that balloon, or instead of making the balloon, extend those payments over a period of time, it's still going to make my monthly payment quite a bit larger. And then on the other scenario, kind of the best case scenario, if they just tack my payments onto the end, well, essentially they just shave some equity off of my house, because I'm paying a little bit of principal with each payment. And now that you've removed that for a year or however long and then tacked it on the end, now I haven't been paying my principal down at all for a year. And so I've basically been losing money, because I could tell you that prices through all of this are probably going to stagnate a little bit. There's not going to be a ton of price appreciation. I can't assume. We're probably not at the same rate that we used to have. So a lot of people that bought their home 5, 6, 7 years ago, which is kind of the average length of time that people own their home, they're still paying primarily interest in their mortgage payment. They haven't switched in the amortization schedule to paying mostly principal. And now all of those payments that are being forbeared or deferred, I'm mostly just making up interest and a little bit of principal. I'm not going to have nearly as much equity in my house as I would if I had been paying my mortgage the whole time. So to give you kind of along the short of my opinion on these things, there's a couple statistics that I want to point out. We have about 83 million homeowners in America right now. 3 million of them have already applied for forbearance. I know that doesn't seem much, 3.6%, but that's actually a lot. And let's just say we're only halfway through people actually asking for forbearance, up to 7%. That could be a heck of a lot more. That creates quite an issue. The other issue that we have is that people that this happened so fast because of a global pandemic that we didn't really have time to put a system and structure into place as to who gets forbearance. Right now, you don't need to prove that you've lost your job. You don't need to prove that coronavirus has affected you in any way. I know dozens of people that have asked for loan forbearance just because they could. And maybe rightfully so. Maybe their jobs are safe for now, but they might not be safe next month. I know people in hotel industry, airline industry, all that are getting loan forbearance right now because they have no idea if those industries are going to exist in the same form 2 months from now. So it's not a bad idea on their part. It's just it creates a situation where you don't really have a system or a standard for who can ask for loan forbearance. And so the way this plays out, it really hinges. The fulcrum point on here is really job loss. Okay, so we have millions of people that applied for unemployment already and millions of jobs that have already been lost. But when I say lost, most of the people have just been furloughed, right? So depending on how quickly we can get back to business, which hopefully we can get back to business relatively quickly, a good portion of those jobs should come back, right? So if those jobs do come back, then ostensibly people can continue to pay their mortgages after forbearance. If they don't come back, then obviously we're in a cataclysmic sort of situation here that probably will be worse than the last housing market crisis or the last global economic crisis, because we just have shaved so many jobs off the economy so quickly. We're just kind of changing the landscape of the entire global economy. It's going to be really bad. If we do get back to business relatively quickly and people get their jobs back, human nature would dictate that most people are not going to stop their loan forbearance just because they got their job back. If somebody tells me I don't have to pay my mortgage for a year, even if I get my job back next week, I'm still probably not going to continue to pay my mortgage until I have to. In that situation, a couple of things happen. Either, like you said, certain servicers or lenders are going to require you to make a balloon payment. And if I don't have the money saved up, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. for two reasons. One, that balloon payment is going to be mostly interest, so I'm not going to be paying hardly any principal down. And two, I haven't been paying any principal down for the last year. So even if I made that payment, or even if I sold my house, right, I just don't have enough equity right now, most likely, to make up the interest that I have to pay when you take into account closing costs and things like that. That could lead to a heightened amount of foreclosures. Or people are going to spread those payments out over time. We're going to get some relief to the mortgage industry, which will help with loan modifications. And we're going to start to see loan modifications come through so that people can spread those those deferred payments out over time. And so that they don't always you basically don't have people just walking away from their homes because they're like, oh, I didn't pay my mortgage for a year. Now you want $25,000 from me. I don't have $25,000 and I don't have any equity. So I have no reason to keep my home. I'll just walk away from it. Right. That's kind of what happened during the Great Recession. You had people that just had no reason to hold on to their homes. If we are able to do loan modifications, then people will be able to keep their homes. The issue will be they'll be able to keep their homes, but they won't be able to afford to move. Right. So you have people that don't pay their mortgages for a year. They're not building any more equity. If prices start to stagnate, they're going to have people that have to pay those mortgages off or have to continue to pay their mortgage after the forbearance period's over, but they can't afford to sell because they're not going to make any money. Okay. So we're going to have sales probably drop in the resale market. Yahoo News is already reporting that they're probably predicting about a 30 or 40% drop in home sales. Okay, not prices. Don't freak out. Not prices. But there are going to be fewer people selling their homes, not because they don't want to, but probably because they can't afford to. Now, you couple that with low rates. You're going to have relatively low mortgage rates because the flip side to this, and I'll kind of get a little deeper, the flip side of this is mortgage companies are going to have to continue to make loans because that's how they make a profit. Right now, when you have millions of people that are doing forbearance on their loans, what happens is the mortgage company makes the loan, the lender makes the loan, then it goes to a servicer, okay, and then it goes to the purchaser of the loan. Lenders, for the most part, don't keep their loans on the books; they sell them. Servicer acts as the middleman, and then whoever that goes into a mortgage-backed security somewhere, then every single month that you make your mortgage payment goes to the lender. They give it to the person. They give their whatever agreed upon rate of return is for that mortgage-backed security to those investors, right? When people forbear their loans, millions of people go for forbearance on their loans. That is 1 year's worth of payments that aren't getting to those investors who bought those mortgage-backed securities. Okay, so it's up to either the lender or the servicer to get those investors paid. Okay, so what will happen is if we get some relief from the government to the mortgage industry, they can continue to pay those investors. But on the backside, all they're doing is making up the ground from all these loan forbearance. Okay, so they need to continue to make new loans to become profitable again. Okay, so you're probably going to see really low rates. So what will happen if we don't lose millions of jobs, if we can get back to business, okay, 12 to 24 months from now, when you start to have these people that need to pay their mortgages again that won't be able to move, you're not going to have as many resale sales or resale home selling, okay, because people can't afford to move. A lot of people won't be able to afford to move, but you're going to have high demand for homes, okay, because there's low rates. Now, we were already at a 4 million home deficit in demand for new construction, okay? Going into this, we had 4 million less new home starts, okay, than the market was currently demanding. Okay, meaning that home builders were already poised, okay, with low rates going into this thing. They were already poised to have record years. We were already at a shortage of new home construction by about 4 million homes. That's a crazy amount, okay? So what you will likely see if this plays out this way, and obviously there's a million variables, but if we can keep the economy running and give people their jobs back, what will likely happen is you will see resale decline over the coming years because people need to rebuild up their equity before they can afford to sell. But you will most likely see an insane surge in new construction sales. So look for huge opportunities in new construction homes over the next few years. And look, it's already the average real estate agent could figure this stuff out. Like, I'm passionate about this stuff, so I read about it. But like, I'll just tell you right now, like these are emails that have literally, I pulled up my email while we were talking. I've gotten 2 emails. One at 2:51 p.m. right before we started, one at 3:17 p.m. while this is going on. I mean, look, D.R. Horton, 6% commission and $9,000 credit for buyers' closing costs. Like, I think
that's going to be the real. That's going to be the real thing here. I mean, look, I'm be honest.
And Movement Mortgage just cut out their servicer. Movement Mortgage is now servicing their own loans.
If we talk any longer about this, people are going to fall asleep, right? I mean, the main thing here when it comes to loan forbearance is getting them in contact with their lender, because according to Freddie Mac's guideline, on here, it talks about, ensuring payment relief up to 12 months, waiving assessments of penalties or late fees against borrowers. And it's not supposed to affect their credit scores, which, again, I'm seeing some lenders post that it's actually showing up on their credit reports. So, I mean, the main thing here is agents need to start advising correctly of reaching out to their lenders and servicers and getting a definite answer and getting it in writing. But where is the opportunity here as a real estate agent to help advise these homeowners, right? Are they going to build? Is this going to cause a huge future selling demand because now they've lost equity or they feel like they need to get out of this house, and I'm stumbling all over the place because I'm trying to figure out where this opportunity is to help advise people.
The way to advise people is tell people, look, if you can afford to pay your mortgage, pay your freaking mortgage, right? Because you'll still be building equity. And what will happen is, as other people that have applied for loan forbearance take a year off from building equity in their homes and don't have the ability to sell their home in 24 months, the price for resale homes, the inventory will drop for resale homes. So it may be a situation where we do have a little bit of a quote unquote seller's market, in the sense that fewer people are going to be willing and prepared to sell their homes, but there will be lower rates. And so buyers will be prepared to pay. It's just, how much will buyers be willing to pay as in relation to how much equity homeowners have? Just because prices go up, if I took a year off from paying my mortgage, I probably still won't have enough equity to sell. So the message to your sellers needs to be, look, if your job is safe, if you've got money in the bank, do not apply for loan forbearance. You will have to pay that money back. Like, it is not a free gift. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you can afford to pay your mortgage and you just decide not to. That's the big message.
So I think
also talk to your lender.
I think the question is from the agent side is, does that mean, with inventory going down, right? Because here in the Dallas-Fort Worth, inventory levels are down for each county. And I did this at our team meeting, over 22% compared to the same time last year, right?
Yeah.
So a balanced market is roughly 6 months of inventory, right? Anything less than that is a seller's market. But does that actually change right now? Because we're seeing two months of inventory. We're seeing some counties have 1.7 months of inventory. Do we still qualify that as a seller's market, or are we temporarily in a balanced market?
Let me find my months of supply. Yeah, across the board, it's 2.7 across our entire MLS right now, down 12.9%. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You can look at it a bunch of different ways. If you just look at the raw stats, is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? The numbers would say it's a seller's market, but we're also in the midst of a global pandemic where you're not even supposed to go to the gas station unless you have a crisis or something. You know what I mean? It's just weird extraneous circumstances. It's hard to say the market is trending one way or another when you have a whole kind of global event going on. Really, I would probably avoid conversations with buyers or sellers about whether or not it's a seller's or a buyer's market right now. It's a crazy market right now. What I think agents should be prepared for is what type of market it's going to be on the other side of this, right? And I think for a while it'll be a weird market in the sense that there's probably two things that agents really, really, really need to focus on the other side of this. Is one, your database is going to be key. I know we say that a lot, but we're going to get back to your sphere is going to be a huge, huge, huge component in your business, because who's losing right now in all of this, the biggest losers in all of this are the discount brokers and the iBuyer programs, right? Those are all going to be shot to hell. Right. And so you're going to have less competition in that regard, but you're also going to have less sellers that are capable of selling, most likely. And so your sphere is going to be a huge, huge, huge part of this on the other side. And then new construction is going to be a big opportunity. So if we're talking about the resale market, I would say on the other side of this, it turns into a seller's market. because there's going to be high demand with low rates, but fewer sellers that are capable of selling. But there should also be a surge in new home starts because there's already a huge deficit in demand for new homes anyway. Couple that with the fact that a lot of resale sellers won't be able to sell and lower rates. I think your biggest opportunities going forward are going to be new construction and your sphere as always. I think new construction is going to play a bigger part in the real estate game than really ever before.
Right. And look, if we're going to talk opportunity, and then let's transition into like what we're doing to our database right now, because that actually, spills in perfect to what the title of the show was instead of the loan forbearance that I completely missed. If we're looking at opportunities, here's the thing: Open Door, OfferPad, they're not buying. So we've seen an influx of people. In fact, we've signed several listings that went to the iBuyer programs and they weren't buying. And they happen to be already leads in our database that we reached out to, and we're able to pull them back in and have them actively on the market. We're selling, several of them we're selling, or we're pushing them out to some of the other, lesser known iBuyer companies that are still buying or picking up wholesale opportunities. So there's definitely that. There's absentee owners. I know real estate teams that are heavily targeting absentee homeowners list and having success with that. And then, we've already talked about new construction, which we've mentioned several times on previous shows, and we're still having success with that. But let's talk about what are you guys doing to your database? Because I had sent out a message yesterday and have already received, again, no exaggeration, at least 400 replies back.
Really? Yeah, that's huge,
unreal.
Man. That's crazy.
Was it just an email? Wasn't it? So explain too, because I think Brian and I are having very similar, kind of conversations. Some of the automation we've set up is getting tons of responses. And I want everybody to hear when we say automation, we're not talking about the regular old bullshit automation that you put out, right? Like it has to be a little bit of a different message, but we're getting tons of positive responses, or at the very least able to clean up our database of people who have moved or done whatever. So what was it? You said it before. What was it that you guys sent out, Nick?
All right. Lean in on this one because it's super secretive, right? Right. And you're going to want to write this down. You're probably not going to remember it. But it said the subject title was checking in.
Ooh, good start. All right.
The body of the message, in fact, someone just replied to it right now. Hey, Brian, I just wanted to check in and see how you are doing with everything going on right now? ?
That was I'm okay. You talking to me? I'm fine.
Yeah. Great. Great. I'm happy to hear that. If there's anything I can do to be of assistance for you during this time and anything in the future, please go ahead and write down my cell phone if you don't already have it saved in 469-951-4193. Call or text me anytime. And I respond back.
You guys pick up, call Nick, text him.
So
I know we don't pop those up anymore now.
Yeah. So I mean, I literally have had from that. I've had people saying, "Oh, I've referred you out." We're sending several people to our preferred lender for refinances. There are people who have lost their job, unfortunately, and we're getting them over to talk about a refinance opportunity because they have equity in the house. They can do a cash out, pay off any debt, or they can sit on that cash. So it's again coming from contribution and also and true concern, and seeing what we can do to help. And people are overthinking this right now. That's why it was so stupid simple that why are we not doing that more? Because I've asked people and I know they're not doing it.
I think that's the big thing, man, is like this whole pandemic has kind of forced us to do things that we should have been doing all along, right? Like we're talking about reaching out to our sphere and coming from contribution and showing some humility and just genuinely connecting with people, seeing what we can do for them, see if they need anything, all that type of stuff. Like we're acting like that's a new thing, right? Like shouldn't we always have been doing that, and it just seems to be murdering. I know Kelderman's had great success with that as well. We're really encouraging our team to put real estate aside for a second, not put it aside in the sense that we don't want to have those conversations, but put it aside in the sense that if you're good at what you do, or you're out there, like people should already know you sell real estate for a living. You don't need to be connecting with your database right now and be like, hey, just want to let you know about what the market's doing. Like people don't want to hear that right now. You know what people want to hear? People want to hear like, hey, I know that I'm certainly stir crazy and I'm having some day now. What's going on in your world? Is there anything that I can do for you? Or do you want to just chat? Like, is there anything you need? Is there any way that I can be of service or assistance? Make sure you call me, text me, and like it really doubling down on that. It's funny how you really need to enforce those things sometimes. It kind of reminds me of what Kelderman does at the end of our live events. We do a lot of live training events here in Dallas. And sometimes we'll have 60, 70 people at these events. It's really, really cool. It's a blessing to be able to sit there and talk in front of all these people. And like Kelderman will just write our cell phone numbers and email addresses on the board. And obviously that's helped us grow our business and bring on great business partners, start awesome conversations and stuff. But it's funny, at the end of every event, Kelderman will talk to the audience, be like, I'm not kidding you. We do this because we want to make the industry better. These are our real cell phone numbers. Call us, text us. We will sit down with you. Let's go to lunch. Let's have coffee. Let's talk about your business, talk about real estate. And then he'll pause and he'll be like, that's not a joke. Like, we say this every time, and like 2 people out of 70 reach out to us. Like, legitimately call me and text me. I'm not bullshitting you. And I think if we do that a little bit with our spheres right now, it comes off as really, really true and really, really, humble. And I think that that's what we need to be focusing on with our sphere right now, is like, look, I really want to be there for you. I'm not kidding around. This is not just some template bullshit. Call me when you need me, right? If it's just for somebody to hang out and have a virtual happy hour with, I'm your guy. Let me be there for you. I think that's what the message to our sphere needs to be right now.
And I think if you found yourself asking the question over the past few weeks of like, what's the script? Like that's just it, guys. There's objection handlers and things like that when you get into real estate conversations. But the initial, we were on a CEO call yesterday, and one of the questions they said was just like, literally reach out to your sphere and just be like, how are you doing really? Right? Yeah. Like not the I just passed by you in a grocery store, like, hey, how you doing? I'm good too. All right, see you later. Like, not that. Like the legitimate, just like, hey, how are you really holding up during all this? Because I'll tell you, I did great with it for 5.5 weeks. And I am in that mode now that some people experienced really early on. I'm in the frustration part of it and whatever. If somebody called me, hell, I had 2 phone calls today. Brian was one of them. If somebody called me and asked me how I was doing today, you were going to get a freaking earful, right? Like, and you're going to call other people with that stuff sometimes. So I think it's important just to remember for all agents that, again, coming from contribution, reaching out, asking people what you can do for help. And then here's the other thing I want to say. If you're going to ask people what you can do to help, and they tell you something you can do and you don't follow through on it,
yeah,
you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here's what I will say. This doesn't work if it's a disingenuous attempt. If you're the kind of person who calls FSBOs and tell them you have buyers when you don't, and then you reach out to people to see if you can help them just so you can spark up a real estate conversation, this is not going to work. This is genuinely like something you should be doing to help people. So if people tell 100%. You something, follow up, right?
No, I agree with that. And
that's always funny to me, is it's like, what's the script for calling my sphere? And it's like, if you need a script, that person's not in your sphere. Like, scripts are for prospects.
Well, I think it's been hammered in too often that when you're making those sphere calls, it's you need to get money off of them. You need to get business, and that's why when I first got into the business, I was like, I'm not calling my friends and family and just saying, hey, how's it going? Do you happen to know anybody thinking about is buying or selling real estate? I'm like, if I got one of those calls, I would be freaking pissed. Right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, right. But that's kind of what the message is that shouldn't be the message to your sphere. Your sphere, like, and look, I know this is harder when you start out, because getting the message out about you being in real estate and getting people to really trust you as an expert is an uphill battle, and that's why you were really prospecting based in the beginning, because you needed to build that track record and stuff. But like, dude, when I talk to my sphere about everything but real estate nowadays, but they still come to me for their real estate needs because they know what I do for a living, So yeah, I'd be turned off if I got one of those calls too. But I do. Messages,
I do think
like that.
I do think, though, I mean, you mentioned that people don't want to hear about real estate market updates. Actually, I'm going to disagree on that, and they want to hear more of it. It's kind of like
they don't want it to be forced upon them.
yes. And so one of our mentors, Jay Kinder, was talking about, he had a great, kind of a great thought process behind it, and no one's doing it, even us. We need to do it, and it's just something that was on our plate, and was like, crap, I don't have enough time to commit to this just yet, which is sad. But he's like, look, everyone checks in and knows the president goes on every day at 5 p.m. whether they love him or him, right? And he's just doing Corona stat updates, and it's kind of very similar day in and day out. But he's got people watching him, and so Jay was mentioning, first off, why is someone not doing a daily live, just talking stats or talking, real estate numbers, kind of similar to what you've been posting, Brian, on a daily basis, and then using that to send that in, and then sending that out to your database, because people are interested in it if it's not forced upon them and it's something that they can tune in, and it's not the only message they're getting from you, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be a really good idea, because Kelderman and I, we need to get back in the habit a little bit. We've had a couple crazy days here, but we've been doing Facebook Lives every single day just to stay in contact with our audience. And we mostly just talk about, animal stories, because it seems like since everybody's inside, animals are like not understanding how to navigate the world. Like a leopard fell down a well. There's been all sorts of crazy stuff. But I think if we incorporated some real estate stats in there and then blasted out to our database, I really do think that would murder. I think that you're right. Can't be all real estate, but I think that definitely there's a space for that too, for sure.
And then I was on. I briefly caught it, and I know that my staff did. There was someone that shared, some fun, entertaining ideas to engage with your sphere and database with, and someone was doing a bingo through Zoom, right? So they had purchased a whole bunch of bingo cards, had sent out an email for people RSVPing for whatever day and time it was, and then they either dropped off the cards or mailed it to them, and had a great time. I think they did it for 2 hours, and so it's finding new creative ideas to connect with your sphere and your database. And right now, if you think about it, we've been doing client appreciation events, and we had to cancel our Easter one, and we've actually kind of pulled away from everything right now, just because we've been trying to figure out how can we connect at a high level, but still utilize the social distancing and still utilize, technology in a way that it's not going to feel, kind of half-assed, and still be fun and something that people are talking about and want to be a part of.
I think that's really big, man. We've had some people doing virtual happy hours for their sphere and stuff. Like that's really good. If you're able to connect with your sphere that way, because eventually real estate conversation going to come up and all that type of stuff. But be the person that gives your sphere a way to connect with others and connect with them, right? Do it through Zoom, bingo, virtual happy hours, whatever it is, virtual game night. Like those things are all awesome ideas right now.
I'm going to tell you right now,
the virtual game night thing is good too. I've got some buddies who they just went and downloaded like the Mario Kart app, and then they all get on Zoom and they race Mario Kart together, and they've turned it into a betting thing. Everybody puts $5 in, whatever. Really? But I mean, look, you could do that with any group of people, right? It's not a hard thing to facilitate at all.
Sure, 100%. I didn't even know you could like broadcast like the Mario Kart to Zoom. We should do that for sure. We'll do it with Call of Duty though.
But you could almost run it as instead of just money, just run it as contest that you could have your vendors contribute towards and run prizes with it.
100%. Right? You could do a bunch of different stuff with it.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
And I'll tell you right now that email that email that I sent out has resulted in a referral, and I just got an email with a guy that's wanting to list an investment property. So, I mean, again, just a natural check-in email will result in business from that. So, without asking for it.
And I also want to, and I know every market's different. Some people are more locked down than others and things like that. So again, if you can't legally do business, this is not meant for you. But if you're saying there's just no business out there, I'm going to tell you right now, you're just not trying hard enough to find it. As somebody who does not have traditional lead generation methods like these two guys do, I can tell you right now that there is still plenty of relationship business. Hell, one of the agents in Wisconsin for her group, she's put 9 deals under contract this month. And I would guarantee almost all of them are probably from her sphere or business that she's been nurturing over a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's huge.
And as we wrap up here, talk briefly about what you guys took away from Monday's Tour Academy Zoom mastermind call. Because I'm going to tell you that by far had me more energized than really the other ones. The other ones are really freaking awesome, but that one just left me amped up and saying, holy shit, like I could see how this could blow the doors off of our business.
Well, and I'll let Brian talk about it, but I called him right after that and I was like, dude, if I can't get you and Justin Nelson in the same room together to start talking about stuff, like I'm just going to freak out, because those like specifically just in our world, like Brian, they both have such great ideas on how to automate and bring in leads and certain ways to use data that they can scrape off of things. So just like I said at the beginning of this, anytime I'm sitting in a room with Justin and hearing the way he's kind of brainstorming about different ways he's facilitating conversations, it's always really interesting because it's usually stuff I've never heard of.
I think the big thing for me in sort of the platform that we're talking about specifically was how he's using LinkedIn at a high level right now. But the real message of the conversation and what I took away from was a lot of his automations and how they could be applied in a whole bunch of different ways. I think the biggest thing that I took away from it is, how tremendously important and how tremendously useful building really good systems and automations is going to be for the future of lead generation. Like what he's been able to do from a business building standpoint by building models and systems and automations. Like if you're moving forward, if you're doing things, I kind of see it in 2 components. Your sphere is always going to need your personal touch. Like you always need to, like your sphere is such a huge part of your business. You really need to really love on them in a personal way. But your prospecting efforts can be automated at such a high level that if you're not trying to learn how to do that or somehow employing someone to do that for you, I really don't see a place for you in the real estate game 3 to 5 years from now. I just think that the machines are taking over, and there's so many awesome ways that you can start conversations with new people that you've never met before. Click of a button, if you set things up properly, that then lead to, really more personal conversations on the back end. But man, just the one-off, dial after dial grind every day. I think that there's still a place for that for now, but I think it's really quickly going away, and automation is going to be king, which that's kind of what I do for fun anyway.
Well, one thing that I took away from it is, and I wrote down on my notes that I took, my multiple pages of notes from that call, and that mastermind, was the only business podcast worth listening to should be started.
Right. And a lot of those things are applied to all sorts of different businesses. Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny. You guys want a real-time example of the sphere thing. I was doing just sphere touches today, and I just had somebody I texted her like 3 hours ago. She just reached out to me and she's like, I need a window guy and my sister needs to sell. So she's like, give me a call when you have some time.
Fuck yeah.
I haven't talked to that lady in 7 months. Right.
That's so awesome.
So, well, I mean, look, these people that are responding are from 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. Like a lot of these people are people that are responding to this message, but have not responded to our client event messages, who have not responded to our normal check-ins. And if you're not taking advantage of this time just to touch base, I mean, this is a few thousand clients. I mean, I'm trying to remember how many it's been since 2007, but that was all put in there and sent out. And there's a couple of them in there that relocated, and I looked it up, and I did not get the listing when they sold.
And look, this is what we always say, dude. There's no such thing as an old lead. An old lead that hasn't bought or sold yet is actually more likely to do so in the near future than anything else, right? So, like, I love the fact that you guys sent that out to stuff that's 10 years old, man.
Yeah, they were kind of right at the end of their natural cycle when they would be, getting ready to do something anyway. So that's huge.
By the way, several of them, unfortunately, divorces are happening or will be happening.
Yeah, of course. 10 years is about the lifespan of a marriage, too. Yeah.
So not only that, that's an opportunity lead source. I hate to call it an opportunity, but that's a lead source opportunity that we'll be picking up as we get through this other side of the cycle of this virus. And so I would familiarize yourself on how to get in front of divorce, divorcing couples,
Sure.
and learn how to navigate those waters accordingly, because it is a different conversation, and how to handle that and continue to work that business effectively.
100%, man. 100%. You're just the messenger. That's going to be something that happens. So take advantage of it if you can.
I think this is, other than the wheels off beginning part where I just left everyone hanging for a minute and a half.
I was thoroughly confused.
It gave us time to build our audience. It worked out perfect.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I think I love today's show. I mean, so if you're watching the replay on this, or listening to this on iTunes, please go ahead, leave us a review. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook, leave a comment, tag someone in it, share this out, because there's definitely some great information in there. And then, by the way, you still have time to get onto the next mastermind call with us, right? And so just go to touracademy.com, sign up for our membership. It's $27 a month. Special pricing, or $197 lifetime access. I'm not even going to tell you about just the pricing on the mastermind calls, because it doesn't make any sense. You want to go sign up for the $27 a month or pay the $197 lifetime access. We are creating new shows. Matt and I are working on two courses that should be out here very, very soon. Brian just dropped one, and I want to get Brian and Matt, do me a favor. Let's get Derek on the hook and commit to helping us make a podcast course.
Ooh, Derek, will you do it?
Badass.
Heck yeah, man.
I
There
think
you
I
go.
might have to do it.
I love it.
That'd be
I
fun.
love it. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely, man. That one would murder for sure.
So here's the thing. Before we get that podcast course made and released, go to touracademy.com, sign up for the $27 a month or $197 lifetime access before those prices go up. And we may raise those prices before the podcast course is released. So get in now.
Yeah, 100%, man. All righty, boys. Video games the rest of the day?
I got to respond to emails right now, but I will be on later.
Sounds good.
All right, gentlemen. Good talking to you. Derek, take us out.